Dr. Zhivago, 1965, once captivated the world with its romantic love story set against the flames of revolution. But few could have imagined that, in real life, the legendary cast would endure tragedies even harsher than those on screen. Some died of illness, others passed away in loneliness, and all of them shared the same sorrowful fate. Who were they, and what destiny took away such talent? Let us uncover their names and honor the legacies they left behind. Let's go. Omar Sharif, as Yuri Zhivago. Omar Sharif, born Michel Youssef Dimitri Chalhoub on April 10, 1932, in Alexandria, Egypt. When he was 33 years old, he took on the role of Yuri Zhivago in Dr. Zhivago, 1965. A doctor and poet torn between duty and love during the Russian Revolution. This role made Sharif an international star, portraying a romantic yet tragic figure, a reflection in some ways of his own life to come. Behind the dazzling career, Sharif's personal life carried deep sorrow. His marriage to actress Faten Hamama, whom he loved so deeply that he converted religion to wed, ended after nearly 2 decades, leaving him in lasting loneliness. Separated from his wife and son by filming schedules and political restrictions from the Egyptian government, he drifted across Europe, where hotel rooms became his home. The loss of family ties drove him into nights at gambling tables, where luck and chance became a temporary cure for a heart-craving belonging. His gambling addiction caused his fortune to shrink drastically and dragged him into scandals. He was once given a suspended sentence in Paris for assaulting a casino employee, and on another occasion, he clashed with police in Italy. From a suave, leading man, he turned into a familiar face in tabloids because of such incidents. At the same time, his film career faded, reduced to small roles that barely kept him tied to the screen. In his final years, as Alzheimer's disease ravaged his memory, Sharif often forgot the very films that had brought him glory, a bitter paradox for a cinema legend. On July 10, 2015, Omar Sharif passed away in Cairo after a heart attack at the age of 83. His solemn funeral, with a coffin draped in the Egyptian national flag, laid him to rest at Sayyida Nafisa Cemetery. At that time, his net worth was only around $2 million, a modest figure compared to his past fame, most of it lost to gambling and a wandering life. Rod Steiger as Victor Komarovsky. Rod Steiger was born on April 14, 1925, in West Hampton, New York, USA. When he was 40 years old, he embodied Victor Komarovsky in Dr. Zhivago, 1965. A calculating businessman, the antagonist entangled with Laura in a complicated relationship that made audiences both despise and be fascinated by him. The role cemented Steiger's reputation for his intense, haunting method acting, making him one of the finest exponents of the craft in Hollywood. Away from the screen, Steiger's life was filled with tension and scars. His childhood was marked by pain, a mother struggling with alcoholism and the absence of his biological father, leaving him to grow up with insecurity and a yearning for recognition. As an adult, he sought comfort in love, but met repeated failures. 5 marriages, including 10 years with actress Claire Bloom, ended in accusations of control and betrayal. The breakup left him in profound loneliness, and he admitted it once pushed him to the brink of suicide. By the 1970s, Steiger's name still shone, with In the Heat of the Night, 1967, earning him an Academy Award, but his spirit was collapsing. Nearly a decade of clinical depression, compounded by 2 heart surgeries during that time, devastated both his health and career. More than once, he was forced to accept roles in B-movies just to survive, something that pained him as he felt it stripped away his worth as an artist. He once said that such emotional pain was not shameful, but an inevitable part of being human, a confession both tragic and courageous. On July 9, 2002, Rod Steiger died in Los Angeles from pneumonia and kidney failure, complications following gallbladder tumor surgery at the age of 77. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills Cemetery, the resting place of many film legends. At his passing, his net worth was estimated at around $8 million, modest compared to his illustrious career, but his true legacy lay in the raw, weighty characters he brought to life on screen. Alec Guinness as Yevgraf Zhivago. Sir Alec Guinness was born on April 2, 1914, in Maida Vale, London. When he was 51 years old, he took on the role of General Yevgraf Zhivago in Dr. Zhivago, 1965. Yuri's half-brother, a cold and stern figure who also served as the film's narrator. It was one of 6 collaborations between Guinness and director David Lean, further cementing his reputation as a master of acting, standing alongside British stage giants like Laurence Olivier and Ralph Richardson. Although his illustrious career brought him an Academy Award for The Bridge on the River Kwai and worldwide recognition as Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, Guinness considered such fame a burden. He bluntly called Star Wars rubbish and felt uncomfortable being permanently associated with the Jedi role. His coolness and candor often drew criticism, but they also revealed an artist who refused to let himself be confined by any single image or symbol. In his private life, Guinness was discreet, devoted to his wife Marula Salaman, to whom he remained married from 1938 until his death. Their enduring marriage stood in contrast to persistent rumors surrounding his private nature and reserved personality. He shunned scandal, but lived with inner struggles, a disciplined, austere man who often seemed distant, even from the public that adored him. In old age, Guinness faced prostate cancer that spread to his liver, rapidly deteriorating his health. On August 5, 2000, Sir Alec Guinness passed away in West Sussex at the age of 86. His funeral was held quietly at St. Lawrence Catholic Church in Petersfield, Hampshire, before he was laid to rest in the local cemetery. At his passing, Guinness left behind an estate worth about $7 million, a figure that reflected a lifetime of success. But his true legacy was far greater. The unforgettable characters he gave the world, from Colonel Nicholson in The Bridge on the River Kwai to Yevgraf Zhivago and Obi-Wan Kenobi, forever etched into cinema history. Julie Christie as Lara Antipova. Julie Frances Christie was born on April 14, 1941, in Chabua, Assam, India, where her father managed a tea plantation. When she was 25 years old, she entered cinema history by portraying Lara Antipova in Dr. Zhivago, 1965. Yuri Zhivago's lover, the embodiment of passion and suffering amid the storm of the Russian Revolution. Her fragile beauty and deeply emotional performance made Julie Christie one of the brightest stars of the 1960s, enchanting audiences worldwide. Yet behind the glamour was a childhood marked by separation. Her parents divorced when she was young, and Christie lived with her mother, spending many years in boarding schools far from home. This lack of emotional security left her with doubts about marriage and family, something clearly reflected in her later life choices. When Hollywood rolled out the red carpet, she felt suffocated by the press intrusion and the pressures of fame. She turned down lucrative blockbuster roles, losing opportunities that could have made her a box office queen. Her romance with actor Warren Beatty from 1967 to 1973 shocked the entertainment world, but ended in heartbreak, leaving Christie wary of love's fragility. Afterward, she chose a more private life, distancing herself from Hollywood and only accepting roles she truly desired. From the late 1970s onward, she shared her life with journalist Duncan Campbell, a steady but unbound love until the two quietly married in 2007 when she was already 66 years old. Christie's life has been a journey of seeking freedom, escaping the molds imposed by fate and society. In 2025, Julie Christie is 85 years old. She lives peacefully on a farm in Wales, far from the noise of fame, dedicating her time to environmental causes, animal welfare, and anti-nuclear campaigns. Though she rarely appears in public, Christie is still regarded as one of Britain's greatest actresses, with a net worth estimated at around $10 million. Yet her true value lies not in numbers, but in the eternal image of Lara Antipova, the role that carved Julie Christie's name forever into the hearts of audiences. Ralph Richardson as Alexander Gromeko. Sir Ralph David Richardson was born on December 19, 1902, in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, England. When he was 63 years old, he played Alexander Gromeko in Dr. Zhivago, 1965. Tanya's aristocratic father, a character symbolizing the fading Russian intelligentsia being swept away by the revolution. With his calm presence and deep, resonant voice, Richardson brought an air of gravitas to the film, perfectly reflecting his own stature in real life. Richardson's childhood, however, was far from idyllic. His parents separated when he was only 5, and young Ralph was raised by his deeply religious mother in precarious circumstances. She initially intended for him to become a priest, but Richardson fled seminary school and embarked on a quest to find his true self. His first artistic passion was painting, but failure in that field led him to the stage, where he quickly proved extraordinary, from the Old Vic to London's West End. The hardships of his youth forged a distinctive personality, sometimes eccentric, sometimes careless, but always brilliant on stage. His personal life was less turbulent than many of his contemporaries. After a short first marriage that ended tragically when his wife died young, he remarried actress Mariel Forbes and remained devoted to her until the end of his life. Known for his quirks, he once walked a pet rat in public and would even interrupt plays to ask audiences, "Isn't this a terribly bad play?" Yet behind such oddities, he was a disciplined artist who gave everything to his craft. His film career paralleled his stage triumphs, with more than 60 screen roles, including The Fallen Idol and Long Day's Journey into Night. On October 10, 1983, Sir Ralph Richardson died in London following a stroke at the age of 80. His funeral was modest, but his death marked the end of a golden era of British classical theater. His net worth was about $2 million, but the true measure of his legacy was not money. It was his artistry, his eccentric charm, and his poetic acting style that made him one of the immortal legends of stage and screen. Geraldine Chaplin as Tanya Gromeko. Geraldine Lee Chaplin was born on July 31, 1944, in Santa Monica, California, the eldest daughter of legendary Charlie Chaplin and Una O'Neill. When she was just 21 years old, she made her mark on international cinema as Tanya Gromeko in Dr. Zhivago, 1965, Yuri's devoted wife, overshadowed by his love for Laura. This role marked her first step out of her father's enormous shadow, though the Chaplin name itself ensured that every role she took carried a heavy weight of expectation. Geraldine's childhood was filled with contradictions. As the daughter of a global star, she enjoyed the privileges of fame, but also suffered from the scandals surrounding her father. After the family left the United States due to the government's entry ban, she grew up in Switzerland, where she studied ballet and dreamed of becoming a dancer. When that dream collapsed, she turned to acting, a path both natural and haunting, as her father's towering name loomed over her every success. Her personal life was equally complex. She had a relationship of over a decade with Spanish director Carlos Saura, with whom she had a son, Shane, though they never married, a controversial choice for the time. Later, Geraldine had a daughter, Una, who is now also an actress, and she married late in life, in 2006, to cinematographer Patricio Castilla. Perhaps the darkest chapter came in 1978, when she personally negotiated with criminals who had stolen her father's corpse, blackmailing the family and threatening her son's safety, a trauma that haunted her ever after. In 2025, Geraldine Chaplin is 81 years old. She is still alive, occasionally participating in artistic projects across Europe and standing as an icon of international multilingual cinema. After decades of work and the inheritance of her family's legacy, her net worth is estimated at around $20 million. But her true value lies beyond figures, in the image of a woman who dared to break free from her father's shadow, carved her own path, and remains a proud presence in world cinema history. Klaus Kinski as Kostoyed Amursky. Klaus Kinski, born Klaus Günther. Karl Nakshinsky on October 18, 1926, in Sopot, now Sopot, Poland. In 1965, when he was 39 years old, he appeared in Dr. Zhivago as Kostoyed Amursky, an anarchist aboard the train transporting prisoners to exile. Although it was a small role, Kinski's presence still left an impression thanks to his unusual aura and fierce gaze that had already become his trademark. Kinski's life was a long chain of tension and chaos. After World War II, he returned from a prisoner of war camp to find both parents killed by bombing, a beginning that set the tone for years of mental and emotional instability. Diagnosed with personality disorder, he experienced repeated violent outbursts on stage and film sets. Colleagues, including director Werner Herzog, acknowledged him as a genius, but also described him as a catastrophe. His marriages were equally turbulent, 3 times wed, 3 times divorced, leaving behind 3 children who grew up in fear and estrangement. In later years, his daughter Pola published a memoir accusing him of abusing her throughout childhood. Even Nastasia Kinski, the internationally famous actress, described her father as a violent man who terrified his children. These dark revelations forever tied his artistic genius to scandal. Klaus Kinski died suddenly on November 23, 1991, in Lagunitas, California, from a heart attack at the age of 65. He was cremated and his ashes scattered over the Pacific Ocean, with only his son Nikolai present at the funeral. Despite leaving behind a prolific artistic legacy of more than 130 roles and an estate worth around $2 million, Kinski's name remains bound to the eternal struggle between brilliance and the shadows of his own demons. Bernard Kay, as the Bolshevik. Bernard Frederick Bemrose. Kay was born on February 23, 1928, in Bolton, Lancashire, England. When he was 37 years old, he appeared in the classic film Dr. Zhivago, 1965, as a minor Bolshevik character in the war scenes. A small part, but a presence within one of cinema's great epics. Before this, Kay had worked as a journalist before turning to the stage, gradually proving himself through hundreds of roles on television and in theater, becoming a familiar face to British audiences. Yet behind the glow of stage and screen, Bernard Kay's private life was far harsher. His marriage to actress Patricia Haynes seemed happy, but lasted only 14 years before she died of cancer in 1977. Her death left a wound that never healed in Kay's heart. He refused to remarry, living the rest of his life alone, holding on to the memory of his late wife. Though he had no biological children, he had once been stepfather to Haynes's daughter with actor Michael Caine, a rare familial bond that helped him endure his grief. Kay's career continued steadily, with countless roles across theater, television, and film. From playing Saladin in Doctor Who to Shylock in The Merchant of Venice, he always brought subtlety and emotional depth to his performances. But behind those portrayals was a man who lived quietly, bearing the persistent sorrow of personal loss. He even won a literary award in 2006 for the opening chapter of his memoir, Maybe a Bastard, where he revealed the hardships of his childhood and the silent pains that marked his life. Bernard Kay died in London on Christmas Day, December 25, 2014, at the age of 86. He left behind an artistic legacy spanning more than half a century, along with an estate estimated at around $1 million, a modest sum compared to his tireless contributions. Kay departed quietly, but in the hearts of audiences he remains remembered as a devoted actor, a man who brought countless roles to life, and a soul who endured more private sorrow than he ever let the world see. Noel Willman as Richardson. Noel Willman was born on August 4, 1918, in Derry, Ireland. When he was 47 years old, he appeared in Dr. Zhivago, 1965, as Richardson, a minor revolutionary character whose presence in several scenes helped paint the broader picture of historical upheaval. By then, Willman was already a familiar face in both British and American theater and film, and he had also established himself as a remarkable director as well as an actor. Yet behind the stage lights, Willman's life carried great tension. Born and raised during Europe's turbulent years, he turned to art as a form of escape. His theater career was closely tied to plays rich in philosophy and politics, and he shouldered enormous pressure managing large-scale productions. The pinnacle came in 1962, when he won the Tony Award for his direction of A Man for All Seasons. But that success only heightened the burden to maintain his reputation in the fiercely competitive world of theater. Willman did not confine himself to directing. He frequently returned to acting, working alongside luminaries such as Paul Scofield, Alec Guinness, Katharine Hepburn, and Christopher Reeve. Yet his strict standards and perfectionism often made him a solitary figure. Little is known about his private life, but colleagues described him as someone completely immersed in work, rarely showing his own sadness or fatigue. That very dedication, however, gradually drained him in his later years. On December 24, 1988, Noel Willman passed away in New York at the age of 70. The cause of death was not widely publicized, though many believed he had suffered a long battle with illness. With a net worth estimated at around $3 million, Willman left behind not only material value, but also an artistic legacy spanning stage and screen. Though he departed quietly, he is still remembered as a dedicated artist who lived fully for his passion until the very end. Tom Courtenay as Pasha Antipov. Sir Thomas Daniel Courtenay was born on February 25, 1937, in Kingston upon Hull, England. When he was 28 years old, he played Pasha Antipov in Dr. Zhivago, 1965, Lara's revolutionary husband, an idealist who gradually transformed into a harsh Bolshevik leader. The role catapulted Courtenay to international stardom and earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, marking a major milestone in his career. Though hailed as a leading face of the British New Wave, Courtenay carried deep reservations. He admitted he never truly loved making films and often felt suffocated by the pressures of fame. From the late 1960s onward, while many of his peers pursued Hollywood glory, Courtenay turned back to theater, where he found artistic freedom. This choice to turn his back on commercial cinema altered the trajectory of his career, making it quieter but earning him respect from colleagues and critics alike. His personal life also saw its share of ups and downs. His marriage to actress Cheryl Kennedy, 1973 to 1982, ended in separation, leaving him with lingering sadness. It was only later, when he found companionship with Isabel Crossley, a theater manager at the Royal Exchange, that he discovered peace and stability. Outside his profession, Courtenay maintained strong ties to his hometown Hull, often returning and even receiving the honorary freedom of the city. His memoir, Dear Tom, Letters from Home, 2000, which compiled correspondence between him and his mother, revealed a deeply sensitive man, at times fragile under the weight of success. In 2025, Tom Courtenay is 88 years old. He continues to live in England with his wife Isabel, occasionally appearing in television or theater projects, though he now spends most of his time in quiet retirement. With an estimated net worth of around $5 million, he may not be among Hollywood's wealthiest, but his long career and unforgettable performances have secured his place as a true icon of British film and stage. Rita Tushingham as the girl, Tanya Komarova. Rita Tushingham was born on March 14, 1942, in Liverpool, England. In 1965, when she was just 23 years old, director David Lean cast her in the epic Dr. Zhivago as Tanya, the girl later revealed to be the daughter of Yuri and Lara. With her large, expressive eyes and natural style of acting, Tushingham left a strong impression, quickly becoming one of the defining faces of British cinema of that era. But early fame also brought heavy pressure. Her roles in A Taste of Honey, The Leather Boys, and The Knack and how to get it tackled controversial subjects like unconventional love and youthful rebellion, drawing sharp criticism from the press. At the very height of her career, her private life grew unstable. Her first marriage to photographer Terry Bicknell ended in heartbreak, leaving her emotionally wounded. She later entered into a relationship with cinematographer Usama Rawi, but that too failed, forcing her to endure one painful breakup after another. The most devastating blow came within her family when her daughter, Aisha, was diagnosed with breast cancer at just 33 years old. Tushingham all but set aside her work to accompany her through treatment, an experience that transformed her into a strong voice in cancer awareness campaigns. Once known as a daring screen star, she quietly evolved into a symbol of resilience and maternal strength, earning even deeper respect from the public. By 2025, at 83 years old, Rita Tushingham still maintains remarkable vitality, continuing to appear in projects such as The Responder, 2022. She lives in London, devotes her time to family and social causes, and remains recognized as an icon of the British New Wave cinema. With a career spanning over 6 decades, her net worth is estimated at around $3 million, modest compared to her name, yet reflecting a life of enduring artistry and unforgettable marks in film history. Tarek Sharif as Sasha. Tarek Sharif was born in March 1957 in Egypt, the only son of legendary couple Omar Sharif and Faten Hamama. In 1965, when he was about 10 years old, he made his first screen appearance in the epic Dr. Zhivago as Sasha, the son of Yuri and Tanya. Though only a small supporting role, his presence intrigued audiences, as he represented a real family shadow within such a historic film. Unlike his world-famous father, however, Tarek Sharif did not pursue a career in the arts. The pressure of carrying the Sharif name pushed him to withdraw, disappearing from the screen after only a few films, including Avalanche, 1969. Growing up under the overwhelming shadow of his father became a psychological burden, leading him to choose a quiet life away from the spotlight. His adult life was marked by family strain. His parents' marriage collapsed when he was still young, leaving emotional scars that lasted. Tarek himself avoided publicity, living privately while his son, Omar Sharif Jr., went on to carry the family's cinematic legacy to the world. The constant comparisons to his father only deepened his retreat, driving him further away from fame and public scrutiny. By 2025, Tarek Sharif is 70 years old. He is still alive, living a quiet life far removed from Hollywood's glare. Though he never built a glittering artistic career, he is remembered as the custodian of a legendary film family's memory. His net worth is estimated at about $1 million, mostly from his brief childhood career and family inheritance. For Tarek, peace and privacy have become his most valuable treasures after a childhood spent under the spotlight. More than half a century after Dr. Zhivago was released, the faces that once shone so brightly now remain only in memory and cinematic legacy. But the question lingers. Why was fate so cruel to them, turning brilliance into tragedy? Do you still remember a moment from the film that touched your heart? Share it with us. And don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue this emotional journey through cinema's timeless memories.